What's up, Gino? Welcome to Simulation Talk 99. Welcome, Iron Slice, Ham, Dwarf Sir, Darth, Red Steel, Simply Fiona, Pogger. Thank you for the share. Simply Fiona is in the house. How are you, Tanya? Okay. Gotta wait a couple moments for YouTube and X and Twitch to fill in. Teresa the Therap. Welcome, everybody. I'm doing great, Tanya. Salty PDX is with us on YouTube, asking when is the new console video coming out. Not sure. I've been pretty busy recently, so finalizing a video is always the hardest part. Making sure that it's all polished and everything, and that requires the most attention. It's always like this. The last 10% of the video, they're always the most difficult. And when you're buried with everything else, with a lot of other things to do, then it becomes extra difficult. So it's hard for me to say. I don't want to make any promises. Hopefully within the next month. Hey Dan, Juke is saying, how goes it? Just rewatching some X-Files here. Used to be one of my favorite shows. Mulder and Scully. Wow, what a show. They don't make them like that anymore. All right. I think we can dive in for a short one today. Welcome, everybody. Okay, I think we have enough people here. Welcome to Simulation Talk 99. Welcome to everybody on TikTok and YouTube and Twitch and X. And Stefan is asking, when is the next retreat? Most likely next year. There's a tiny probability that something might happen this year, but it's, at the moment, seems unlikely. What is the topic tonight? Well, you know, I haven't picked a topic in a long time. We usually just kind of go and then we go with the flow. Simply Fiona, thank you for being here. But maybe at some point I'm going to start picking subjects again. The thing is that when I pick a subject, it doesn't take it long before we drift into something else. So I figured it's almost like we're pretending. Just discovered you. Very intriguing. Thank you, Raven. Appreciate that. Okay. Kurt is saying, but I just watched the Discovery and I'm sitting here like, you mean you watched the trailer? Yeah, we're still working on movie on the movie, but I appreciate you. Funny. Okay, so let me do a quick intro. What does that mean? I will email soon. I'm in Colorado. Worms for President is saying. Okay. The 51 Project is saying the YouTube algorithm has suggested some small channels in the McKenna experiment vein recently have dropped your channel name 2 or 3 times, and YouTube seems to be actively deleting. Nothing unsafe in comment. Interesting. So are you saying that you think that the YouTube algorithm is actually blocking my channel? Like when you're actually trying to search for it? Is that what you're saying, the 51 Project? DTYN 2024 is asking, why do you think the characters are close to like alphanumeric instead of something entirely new? Where did I say that it's alphanumeric? You mean it's an alien language of some sort? Definitely not English. It's closer to Japanese or Hebrew, and what seems to be some regular numbers. But again, it all seems like it's not really any of these things. So these are the closest approximations. I've never said that they're alphanumeric. I'm not sure where you got that idea. Okay, so let me do a quick introduction. How are you, Indica? So yeah, no, it kind of looks like, which actually not really helping the case, to be honest. But they kind of look like in the movie, like The Matrix. Straight up looks like Japanese. They're not. I had some Japanese speaking people who verified they're not Japanese, but they kind of look like an alien language. The Japanese is katakana specifically is the closest to what it looks like. Some of it kind of looks like Hebrew alephs, and then some of it looks like zero numbers from 0 to 5. But again, they're all approximations. This is not exactly what it looks like. How are you, Azamoon? Oh, I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. YouTube being YouTube. It seems to be ghosting, deleting any comments. I mentioned this channel literally just happened 5 minutes ago. Wait a second. You put comments in, and then it deletes your comments? Is that what you're saying? Are you sure about that? That's very strange. Kurt is saying, yes, the trailer. It's got to thinking our message is good or bad from wherever they are coming from. Can you clarify, Kurt? Because I'm not really sure what you mean by that. Yo, bro, been busy around when you've been on. Yeah, well, it's a common problem. I did miss some of my regulars. Oh, yeah, DTYN. I don't, for 1 second, feel like you're trying to misrepresent at all. I think I'm maybe slightly more resigned today in my attitude than usual, not as animated. I think today was kind of, I don't know, like a little wonky. So I don't want you to feel like I'm, speaking to you as if I feel like you're being confrontational or anything like that. I didn't get that at all from you. It's all me. Yeah. Jesus, how's it going? Good, Val. How are you? Okay, let me do a quick intro because there's enough people here. Welcome everybody to Simulation Talk 99. How's suiting? Hold on. The slide has been dying on me way too quickly. Welcome to Simulation Talk 99. My name is Danny and I'm claiming to have found actual proof that we live in a simulation. We meet here on the daily to discuss the experiment, the discovery, the implications, the details, as well as science in general, religion, spirituality, God, philosophy, whatever comes to mind, we discuss it. Sometimes we have panels, sometimes we have some discussions going on. Today, I might go a little shorter than usual. I'm not, it's a little late for me, and I feel like I need a little bit of reserved energy for tomorrow. Just a quick housekeeping. Everybody here on TikTok who wants to see longer form videos of everything you see here on TikTok, you can find that on my YouTube channel, which is Dango Thoughts, DANGO Thoughts, and there I go more in depth about pretty much everything that you see here on TikTok. Like for example, this trailer that you guys saw that recently went viral. This is like a tiny snippet of the full trailer, and of course it takes some things out of context, and I think it's important to watch the full trailer and eventually the movie. But this would be one example where you might want to watch the full thing to understand the full context of the spirit with which the information is being presented. It's really funny because TikTok is actually kind of, that's what TikTok wants. That's what people on TikTok want. They want short, quick, I just want to know. And then when you tell them in a short way, they're like, you're like, okay, well, you got to watch a little more than the short version of it, right? So yeah, it's really hilarious to me. But in any case, we're here. We do this every single day. And thank you so much for the likes, guys. I appreciate it. And let's dive into some questions. Oh, I guess the important thing. A few years ago, I discovered that if you project a diffracted laser on the surface and you ingest a particular molecule that I cannot name because of legal reasons, you will see code running in surfaces. This observation has now been replicated over 1,000 times worldwide, and it connected me with some of the leading researchers in the field. It does not mean, it's always important to mention, that all of them agree with me and my conclusions, but this is an ongoing conversation and a serious one at that. So I'm here every single day to see how people feel, what they think, how they think, what's important to them, and I enjoyed this very much, and I hope you guys do too. So let's dive in and see what we have here. Did you see more dimensions? I think on the molecule, it is a common thing to feel like you're seeing more than 3 spatial dimensions. it's hard to explain how you can know that or substantiate that, but it definitely feels that way. Have I watched the Midnight Gospel episode 5? Nope. I don't remember what episode 5 was, but I love the Midnight Gospel. And actually, one of my dreams is to be on Duncan's podcast. That would be amazing. Where are you from? Are you following in your father's or grandfather's footsteps with research? Originally, I'm from Russia. My life trajectory is a bit strange. I kind of started studying physics very young, and then I made some other life choices, and it was very different in academia. But that was the thing that always stayed with me. Like, if there's one imprint, we all have that one thing that always stays with you. It's this just, thirst to know. So I guess that's the binding element. But no, my grandfather wasn't like an actual physicist. And I am very much not. But I think in the sense of trying to understand reality, definitely. Thank you. Somebody said I have incredible hair. That made me feel better. I appreciate that. The next beginning. Did get the boys and got it. Vote radio. Sorry, Virtual, I'm not really sure what you mean. Oh, you should just make content oriented to that. See it before I catch up and change it. Okay, let me go. One final comment from TikTok, then I'm gonna go to you guys on YouTube. Aaron is saying, I see you talking about your things for a while, but I don't understand. That's a good comment. It's a good correction for me. What specifically do you feel, Aaron, that you do not understand? Maybe you can specifically address that. In the meanwhile, while you answer, I'm gonna go to see what we have on YouTube. I have been keeping in touch with the community on Discord. Oh yeah, and by the way, thank you so much. Yeah, the Discord. I'm glad that we finally have the Discord channel, thanks to you. And it's fun that there's other communities that are growing around this. It's incredible. I wish I would be checking it a little bit more often. I should check it every day. I've had comments deleted before, but I realized it was when I tried to post a link. Oh yeah. It never allows you to post a link. That's just a regular thing, Caroline. But again, what kind of links did you want to share with me? Oh. Hold on. I'm asking because if there's something that you really want me to look at, the best way is to just email me. And yeah, that would be great. Laser Simulation X is my email. Laser Simulation X at gmail.com. And that's my email. So feel free to email me if there's something you really want me to look at. The 51 Project saying, man, talking about the molecule on his walk. I said, look at this channel and comment added, then deleted. Has happened once or twice before. That is so strange, man. Certain people aren't even allowed to comment. A lot of what I say comments get deleted. Really? You mean on the do you guys mean on the lives or you mean on the videos? Because I want to look into this. This is strange. Right, come to the Discord, bro. Nothing deleted over there. Yeah, come to the Discord. Found you on TikTok today. Amazing, best nail tech. Maniac Views is saying, I've been seeing some strange glitches or something since 2013, but no one believes me. What should I do? It's hurting my mind. Let it go, I would say. That's what I do. Ironically, as much as I'm talking about this stuff every day, I never tie it to my personality or my life, and I don't put too much stock in people swaying that way or another. I'm just engaging with people and seeing what they feel. That's all you can do. You're gonna lose your mind if you're gonna try and change people's minds. People do People will do what they will do. Take two aspirins. That's hilarious. Cool guy 42 is saying you said 4ACO confirmed to you that God exists. I'm not sure what the first part meant. I think you have also done the toad, licked up toad presumably. The God molecule reveals something similar. Also heard you're 7'5". True? No, I'm 8'4" actually. You mean my height? Yeah, I'm 8'4". I'm a giant. What was it revealed on Toad? I found it peculiar. I'll tell you why. I found it peculiar because it really is not like NN at all. Like not even a little bit. And in the beginning, I kind of pride myself in being able to describe things, even if they're very complex. And for the life of me, and when I was going in, I was like, come on, like everybody keeps saying, it's like you can't really talk about it, and I'm like, okay, this is a little bit hyperbolic. I mean, you can talk about anything, right? Even if it's crazy. And then, so I think you can talk about it, but I do admit that it's very difficult. But I think I nailed down why. So every other thing you ever gonna do, including NN, no matter how bizarre and wild and all of that, there's still some kind of a tracing line of things. Like you can say, on NN I saw these geometries, and lights were brighter, and colors were brighter, and everything was moving really fast. There's some coherent set of events that is happening in a particular sequence. And even though a lot of people, especially in the beginning, kind of forget what they saw, in the short period of time right after, you can kind of talk about it, and it would make some sense. With the toad, I think the map disappears. Like there's still experience, but there's nothing. Even when I was already coming back and actually saw some visuals, not everybody sees some visuals. So first of all, the visuals had a much more. The nature of them was much less and it was much more like Hoffman-like. I can't say the names of these molecules on TikTok, but probably most of you know what I mean. They felt more Hoffman-like. It's much more slick in space and things like that. And also, you can't really map it. Like you can't say, "Oh, this happened and then this happened." It's just kind of like this disjointed thing, which was still flowy, but you can't. Your rational machinery can't grab it at all. So you just like dissolve, and nothing you can do with your rational mind that can grab that. And also, it felt like it was a way more advanced thing. So I always say, and I'm always saying it with some trepidation because I do know that these beings are real, and I don't want to offend anybody. But I always say that it almost feels like the NN is more like the management company, and the toad is like the architect. Like it's kind of like up there. I saw something that is akin to. I don't know how many of you would be familiar with this, and maybe for some of you it will be like very esoteric. But if you Google anti-de Sitter space, which is a mouthful, but if you just do M theory anti-de Sitter space, it's the mathematical space in which these strings in M theory, which is the unifying theory of all string theories, and the way they depict these graphics, these basically kind of like manifolds, are like inside of this space. It's usually they make it purple, and it kind of like falls. So it's almost like they're trying to depict multi-dimensional shapes this way. So it kind of felt like that, but in real life, it just like felt like these like things that you really made out of like 8, 9, I don't know, 11 dimensions. So that's the only thing I can say with any, coherence. That I would admit that it's very difficult to describe, if possible, if maybe impossible. But definitely it feels like you're being reset completely. Mission Oh, before I forget, because I know that Aaron said that there's something he doesn't understand, and I want to make sure that he didn't respond maybe, and I want to respond to that. Do you think Elon Musk knows about this? No, Elon definitely doesn't know about this, but if I have anything to do with it, eventually he will. And Elon, for sure, has no idea. Elon is, as much as people hate on him, if one thing I'm absolutely certain of, he's very straightforward. Like there's not a lot of hidden corners there. There's the dark side of Elon, which he's very aware of and it's very open about. I mean, obviously not on a regular basis because it doesn't serve any purpose. But if he is being asked about it, it's like he knows, right? So there's no like I don't see like a conniving streak there. I don't see somebody who's like scheming and then doing that. Is just sorry, that's just not Elon. But you can say a lot of other things, about how he treats people, all that stuff. That's fine, but that part of him doesn't exist as far as I can tell. That's not that's not the person. So, and he always says like if I would know about aliens, I would be the first one to say it. He means that. I believe him 100%. He would just say it. Like he's not hiding anything or none of that stuff unless it's like classified. But no, I don't. There's no reason to think that he knows that. Well, aside from the fact that I know for a fact that, well, for a fact is a stretch. Obviously, how can I possibly for sure know? But to the extent that I gather from actually talking to some of the leading researchers in the world, I'm kind of the first one like saying it this concretely, right? It's not like nobody ever spoke about code or adinkras or any of that stuff, but like this concrete way of talking about it, of saying like no, like go and look, like it's there, right? As far as I know, I'm the first one to say that, and actually that's not true. I had somebody on Instagram telling me that they for a few years saw something similar in the 2000s, and they were doing it a bunch, and they were doing it with lasers. Now I don't know because I don't know the person. I actually texted them and they never replied. But they said that they were like seeing a bunch of it, but they never spoke about it. I don't know. So yeah, but it's a very long-winded way of saying I have no reason to think that Elon knows anything about this, but he will. So let's see if Aaron said something. Okay, so I see there's not a lot, there's not a lot of there's nothing here that too much to comment on, to be honest. Okay, so let's go back to YouTube. You realize that I will actually, because I'm reading your comments. Hey Kirsten, good to see you. So if you say something of value, I'll respond to that. But if you're just saying just like one-liners or just like you want to express your opinion, that's fine. But there's nothing I can say to you. Like if you're just making statements, or okay, there's not much there to respond to, which is a wasted opportunity. So Mission Ahai is saying, so I still haven't seen the code externally, but I continue to see what I think is the code every time while in the space. I'm going to try again right now to look at the code using the technique. Wait a second, Mission Ahai, hold on. This is super important. Because from what I remember, you have been trying this for a while now. Are you saying that by using the laser with the molecule, you can't see the code still? Because then we have to address something here, because this is unheard of, and you'd probably be the first person that I ever heard that this is happening to. And I would love to help you if you still actually want to see it. You can also email me, of course. But I've never heard of somebody who was trying like again and again and again for like, I don't know, what is it, like months? Are you sure you're not just looking at the surface? Are you sure you're doing the whole thing with like looking inwards and all that stuff? Because if you can't, that's actually a very important data point. I've never encountered this before. Where is your end goal with the red code? Kind of hard to guess. I don't think I have a. It's kind of like, it's the same example that I always use, and eventually I'll find a better example. But when you just discovered quantum physics, the question was never like, what's your end goal? Like, who knows? Like, you discover something real and you interact with it. Mission: shine it through glass of water. Nice. Sorry, I'm Australian. The code messages the lasers are showing, I wonder if they are good or bad. Wait, the Australian was referring to the fact that I couldn't understand what you were saying in writing? Well, I mean, okay, the honest truth is that how can we, I don't know, if I have to be honest, right? But I mean, people report codes all the time, so this I guess this is just another layer. Also, I don't know what that would mean in terms of like, what does that actually mean, good or bad? Or is there a particular reason you're asking? I guess let me ask you that. How do you see the matrix? You go to codeofreality.com, and you have the protocol and the laser parts and everything you need to get there. You don't have to get them there. If you want to get them for cheaper, you can easily find that. Just copy the specs and go and source it anywhere you would like. Alibaba, Amazon, anywhere you would like. But everything you need is listed on the website. Let's see. Let's go back here. So did you have any success entering the console? The key. Everybody wants to know about the console. I understand. I get it, man. I understand the interest in the console. I promise the video will be out, the new one, and I'll be giving more information. The truth is, I don't know. If I would know something like truly like, the next breakthrough, unless it would be something just like, this needs to go directly to the president, then I'll be talking about it already. So, same question is Inside Bytes. Yeah, console guys, I'm not gonna be commenting on because there's not much to say aside from what I already said and from what I'm saying in the new video. Yeah, you just have to notice it and move on. Wait, for real? You're 8 foot? No, I'm not 8 foot. That would be hilarious though. I think my voice would be a lot deeper. Before I see, blah, blah, blah. Jean-Francois. I love the name. You should have the molecule and stereoscope. Yeah, the stereoscope definitely help. The magic eye trick. You kind of do the thing. How do I read codes within the laser? I mean, that's what we're talking about, right? You do the experiment the way that I've devised or the way that I'm describing. Do different color lasers show the same code? The code is the same, but there's extra content in the other colors. Green and blue seems to have extra content. Mike, okay. There's like hundreds of alien mummies discovered in Nazca, Peru. I don't get why the alien thing is still in question. Well, from what I know, all of these discoveries, they're a little flimsy, to be quite honest. But I'm not saying they're not here. I mean, obviously, I know that something beyond is happening, but it's very difficult to know which one of the stories is leading to something concrete and which ones are just people trying to get attention. So, to be fair, most of these stories are bunk. Have you watched any of the Global Disclosure Daystream? No. You want to tell me about it? The Discord, Chavez, if you email me, I'll just send you a link and you can just join it. Have you ever heard of ego death by any chance? Of course. Okay, still not seeing it, which is fine. My console is where I'm interacting. Yes, that's fine. Wait. Okay, hold on, Michelle. You see the console, but you can't see the code? Also, are you one of these people that emailed me about the console? It's hard to know from the different handles on YouTube and stuff. Is that you? Who do you believe created the codes? Originally, I have no idea. Jonathan is saying, hello Dan, thank you for reaching out today. I hope you chat next week. This is a fantastic subject matter and I am fascinated by this phenomena. Thank you so much, Jonathan. I appreciate you. Yes, you have the okay, well, first of all, you got to come talk about the console, brother, because from all the people always ask me to talk about my console. I want you to talk about your console because we should compare notes. Do you have a TikTok account? Because if so, please come on and I want to bring you on so you can talk about it. How do I think the code is related to love? Caroline is asking. What a hopeless romantic you are. Beautiful question. I don't know. I'm not sure it does. I think it codes for what we would call objective reality. And I think the code for our emotions and our everything that we are codes that are on a different plane, so to speak. So I'm not really sure if this code seems to not really budge no matter how you feel or what you do, which is interesting. But again, if you give me a little bit of an idea of why you're asking that, maybe it can spark a deeper conversation. But I am interacting with it in the space and working on how I can alter the code. But I thought you said you don't see the code, Bishanaha. I'm a little confused. Can you please come on TikTok and we can chat? That would be amazing. JH, hey Dan, did the three women that could see the code without the molecule have any similarities, personality traits, or history? Only that they're very kind of, I guess, what you would call very open and spiritual. Ryan Nicholas Beretta is saying, have you tried transmitting certain tonal frequencies at the same time as the light is emitted? You're talking about sound? Yes, sound doesn't seem to change anything. Your sound design in Florida. So I do think that sound is involved, but at least at the moment, it seems like sound makes no difference to the code at all. Did you compare notes with Minty, as he is quite experienced and shown some interest in this laser experiment? Minty? Who is Minty? Sorry. I'm always open to talk to anyone. I'm not sure who Minty is. Have you tried looking through the laser with the Hoffman? No, I have not. So I don't know if it works, but I think it should. Have there been experiments with other molecules, with the mushrooms and yes. How would you know if the code is budging if you can't read what it says? I've never seen the code budging. Are you saying, how do I know that it's not changing? Well, you can see a general behavior and kind of, you can see that there's a general similar behavior no matter what it is, no matter what surface it's on. It's kind of the same. You're right. Maybe it changes in ways that we can't really see right now because just too much information, but it seems to not budge at all. So if this is created reality, who or what created it? Thoughts? Yeah, I think that the reason that all the simulations are running is actually to answer this question exactly. I think that what's going on is that even the highest civilization doesn't really know why existence exists. I think that's why they're running all these simulations. Eric Schiller is saying, John Lilly believed the human body was a biocomputer and had its own interface, which he accessed with K and using float tanks. Why are you so sure the code you are accessing is reality? I'm not really sure how the first part of the question relates to the second part. Are you saying that because something is a biocomputer, it is not reality? In my definition, reality is that everything that happens. So your imagination would also be part of reality, in my definition of things. Minty is the guy I showed the code to early on when we talked, who got upset about the claim, but alluded to seeing the code friends with adapters. Got it. So I'm confused. what is the thing with him? If he got first of all, why was he upset? Who gets upset because somebody makes a claim? Hey Dan, hope all is well. Wish I wasn't so tired. I have a few things I'd love to discuss. One thing was, have you tested subjects' EEG or heart math, etc. for similarities in biodata? Not yet, brother. Thank you for the question. Great question. EEG is definitely on the list of what we're going to try. Okay, let me see. Indica is asking, do I read book? Which book? Oh, and I see somebody. Zach, I see you trying to come in. I'm just now seeing this. So I'm going to make a couple more comments. You can come in the meanwhile. Hello?
Hi. Oh, I'm here.
Yeah. Hello? Okay. So I'm going to mute you because I'm not sure that you wanted to come on. Maybe it was a mistake. Welcome, Zach. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to respond to a couple more messages.
Okay, Mission here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm the guy that can not see the code on the surface.
Oh,
But
so that
see
you
the code.
okay. So you are Mission
Mission
Aha on. Okay, cool. How are you,
Yeah,
brother?
yeah.
Yeah,
Great. How are you?
I'm amazing.
Nice.
So
Okay,
first of all,
so
let me ask you a couple of leading questions because I'm fascinated by this. First of all, are you one of the people that emailed me about the fact that you also see a console, right? Was that what you said?
I don't think I emailed you, but we spoke with it like maybe a week ago or something like that online during a live chat, but no email.
And you said you saw a console.
So what I think is a console for me is it's hard to describe it. It's happening within the space, right? Obviously,
Yep.
and it is it's kind of like altimeters and all that kind of stuff, readouts, blah blah blah, and it's got the code running. I don't know. Ask me more questions, and I'll tell you.
Sure. So when you say in the space, you mean you are in hyperspace?
Yeah.
Okay. So the difference, I guess, so just to give you a little bit of background, a little bit more background about myself that I usually don't really dive that deeply into. What made me start thinking about how we can potentially prove that this space is real? By the way, the simulation hypothesis was the furthest thing from my mind. Like it was not, I had no interest in it. It was not,
Totally.
yeah. But so the reason that I did started thinking in that direction is because I've already had a very extensive experience with the molecule, like years and years and years, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a new set of experiences started happening to me that I've never seen before. It was like a new level of realism that I was just like, wait, that's crazy. Like I had a being appear in my room, and the being was as tangible as a person. I don't mean metaphorically, like straight up, like I could sense the physicality of the being, and I was like, what is happening right now? And then that, considering the fact that I'm not, even though I guess I mean, technically you would call me a psychonaut because I'm, been doing it a lot in my whole life, but I never associate myself with that culture, with that. I don't think like that. Like it's just like it's just part of whatever reality is that to me, and either it's mind made or whatever it was, but that was just too tangible to postulate that it was mind made. So then I started asking these questions, and then I started getting communication back, and it was just like a phone call. Like they would appear in my room, and then what started accompanying this realism, is that yes, I could still go to that hyperspace, but very often I wouldn't, and it would just come to the room. Like I would just stand normal, everything is normal, and then it was just like augmented reality. The whole space would just come into the room, and then I started reading online that this is actually a phenomenon that does happen. There's a whole community of people talking about it, and it's always accompanied by a very coherent interaction with aliens. Like it doesn't feel like our higher self. It doesn't feel like any of these things. It just feels like straight up aliens. Okay, I don't even know where people got that from. I feel like it's a meme that just spread too fast. But like, the molecule does not feel like what you would call spiritual. It's just like very mechanical. It's very like you're interacting with a very advanced civilization. Yeah. So I don't even honestly don't know where people got this idea from, and I'm a little suspicious that actually they're not really experiencing that, but they're just kind of overlaying their own biases on top of it. But I can't know, of course. And then after I that fast forward many years, when I discovered that the laser thing works and I started talking about it, like 2-3 months in, I'm standing in the kitchen, and it's very important to emphasize. It's just like I'm talking to you right now, like this. Like there's no, I'm not like feel like I'm out of my mind. None of that. It's just standing in the kitchen, and imagine an object that just appears right in front of you, egg shaped. That's what I'm showing in the video about the console, and it's just there right in front of me. Like, but it's as real as this bottle. That's how real it is.
Yeah.
It's not like seeing with my third eye. None of that. No, with your eyes, right?
Yeah.
So this is the thing I'm trying to nail down, because I've only met two other people, and luckily one of them, there's balloons on YouTube, which is awesome. Luckily one of them emailed me literally, I think the day before, or 2 days before I put out the console video.
Yeah.
And it's great because if I would already put it out with everything he said, I would be convinced that he's just reiterating what he saw in my video.
Right.
But I didn't put it out. He had no way of knowing. And he described to me exactly the same thing. He described the menus that come up. He described that there's like a body to the console. What I put in the console video is just the body of the console. So what I'm working on now with the VR expert is to create also the menus and everything else that comes with it. And what's interesting is that the body is always the same. It's kind of opaque like this, and it just appears. And then there's also portions that appear on the floor, and it opens up. And then from the egg in the middle, there's this podium that comes up, and then it spreads into these menus. It opens up, and then just hover around me, and then just kind of search me, and they follow me. And the only way I found to, and I spoke about it a little bit, the only way I found to actually operate some portions of the console is to pay very close attention to some of the menus, so then they become available. My friend Kirsten over here, she also says that she sees a console, but it sounds like her console is a little different, and it comes with a different set of tools because I guess she's a healer. It comes to her as like set of tools that you can kind of help operate on people. I can't speak to that because I've never experienced anything like this. But the only thing I can say that is truly mesmerizing about the console is that how real it is. It's not like, if you want to say that I'm hallucinating, dude, this is, my brain learned how to do a pretty cool trick if this is hallucination, because it's just there, right? But and it's coupled with the communication from the being. So I just wanted to nail it down that you understand that what I'm talking about is like you're just standing normal, and it's in the room, and you can walk around it like a coffee table, like it's just there. Is this something similar to what you're experiencing?
Well, just one clarification. Do you need the molecule to have the console?
I do, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I too had a being show up 30 years ago, and just physically in the room, no drugs, nothing like that, and give me this whole instruction on, altering reality and the whole deal, and I had a meltdown because of it, because what happened 2 years to come out of that, but whatever. But the being said that I'm going to put you to sleep, and you're going to not be able to unlock this stuff for years, whatever in the future. So, fast forward 30 years to last year, and I decided, okay, I'm going to use the molecule to unlock whatever that being had put in there, whatnot. So I did, and it was this whole series of, using, keep moving, and you gotta get your capillaries going, be able to get saturated with the molecule, and then be able to wield it in a way. So I always go to basically the same place in space, and there's always coming out of it what I call a console. It looks like digital readouts and all this code, stuff like that. And in that space, it's like the Matrix, like the reality of different, like a society or whatever, whatever I want. I could see people walking and wherever they're at, that kind of thing. I don't know, it's hard to describe, but I'm watching video replays of reality, basically, from that console. That's what I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm cutting you off. There's this phenomena that people talk about that I personally have never experienced. But when I talk about a console, sometimes people would say this to me. People report, and this is common actually. People report that when they go either they do like life regressions or something like that. When it's the in between the lives space. So either it's an NDE or like life regression or past life regression, or sometimes people have just a very vivid dream, which maybe I guess you can categorize it as astral projection or something like that. But people do say that when you go into these higher spaces, sometimes you see screens, and you see. Would you say that that's kind of similar to what you experience, because you go into hyperspace and you see these readouts and screens and like it's very technical. Is that similar to what you're describing?
Yeah, yeah. I think I know what you're talking about. Where like yeah, they'll see like a monitor screen and they're looking at something like that. This more just seemed to be what interests me is that it appears that your code is running
Yes.
in this vision. Like it's streaming. Like there's
Yeah.
numbers changing and all that, and you know it's doing its thing.
It's there's like three different axes. There's the kind of like something that seems like buckyballs that is rotating, and then there's these columns, and
Yeah.
yeah, and also like each and every one of them is replaced in its own spot, just like the old briefcases with the code, right? So it goes like
Yep.
yep.
Yeah, and there's color to it. You know, that's like a thin font and the whole deal, and literally it looks like you know if you're in a jet or something like that, you've got different readouts going and that, you know that kind of thing. It's like something's going on that it's like you know, but I think I'm wondering it could be interfacing with the simulation at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like
With the fundamentals of it, yeah. No, for
like,
sure. Yeah.
like the simulation theory, like it's that's what I'm seeing is the simulation running in some way, possibly because it's every time, and
But
yeah, it's just
but
very
you don't see
interesting.
but you don't see it in the laser.
I mean, I haven't seen it yet. I don't know
That is
what I
so
could be doing
strange.
wrong.
Hold on. So you okay? So let me get this straight. So I'll tell you something. So there is this thing, and I spoke about this both in my videos and my lives, that sometimes people takes them a little while to see it, but I've never heard that somebody is really trying for like at this point what months, right? And
Yeah,
and
like
and
a
still
lot.
and still you can't see it. So I've never heard of this. But in my last meditation retreat, I went to the bathroom and then I came out. I was washing my hands, and I was thinking about this. I was like, dude, what it like? I really want to understand why certain people have such a hard time, because sometimes, somebody would be there for like trying for 2 hours, and then they would all of a sudden see it, and I go, okay, what changed? They're like, I have no idea. I just see it now. And that's crazy. But like, I just see it. I see it, and all of a sudden it just comes about. And I was thinking, what can it be? I was thinking about age groups, IQ, because actually most of the people that I noticed that they had a really hard time, they tend to be like very smart people. So I was thinking maybe there's some kind of a element there where because smart people tend to be more convinced of what they already know, just because for the most part they're right. So it's just a track record. So they're kind of like their reality is pinned down, so to speak. So they're kind of like it's difficult for them to maybe like untether and allow for more things to come in. So there's like an idea that I had, right? And the whole time I was thinking about this, and then I turn around, and it was very kind of like it just sounds like a happenstance, of course, but there was something about that. It was like it was right in that time when I was thinking, and my head turned, and my eyes just locked on this tissue box, and the name of the company that makes the tissues is called Choice.
Right.
And I was like, oh,
Yeah. 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 You're right.
interesting.
I've been wondering that same thing too.
So I was like, yeah. So I was like, maybe that's just choosing to not see
Right.
it. Yeah, I that's the best. And that was
That's,
it was like very prophetic. It was like,
yeah.
yeah.
No, that's exactly what I've been thinking too. It's like, is it that I'm just not willing to choose that? That's why I've been wanting to
But it
talk
is
with you.
strange because you already saw the code. You see it in other contexts,
Yeah,
and
I
it sounds
know.
like you're seeing the exact same thing. And also from the way you're speaking, I can understand some things about your character. You're very
Yeah,
kind of like you're very straightforward. Like there's no
yeah,
yeah.
I wouldn't even engage you unless I was a real person. And we live nearby. We could talk about it in person if you ever
Cool.
wanted. But yeah, I'm totally legit, totally grounded,
Yeah,
and
you sound
yeah,
very grounded. That's the right word. It's like that's interesting because I really want to nail down what is this thing that makes people not see it and then all of a sudden see it, and other people just see it like no problem.
yeah, I've been feeling this for a long time now. That it's exactly what you say, choice. Because I have I like practice magic and all that, the esoteric things all my life, so I can feel like, is it all that knowledge that's, like you said, maybe it's part, like, people are too smart, like I have too much occult knowledge that's stopping it, but it always comes back to, make it simple. It's like,
Do you
it's a
you
choice.
mean so you saying occult knowledge in the sense that like caution to not see it until you're sure what it is?
No, like I've just, for 30 years, whatever, I've been reading all these, astral, all the different esoteric subjects and, hermetic studies and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of like, I've been wondering, like, is it because I, like the being that came to me had a lion's head, a woman with a lion's head on, human body, lion's head. So I thought, well, it must be an Egyptian goddess. But through the molecule stuff, I'm in the way it is. I'm not. It's probably an alien, these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's simple. Like, keep coming back to this feeling within me that, like, you know what? It's just a choice. Because if I like finally accept, okay, it is a fucking simulation. There is no heaven or whatever, something like that. What does that mean?
I'll surprise you. I think there is.
That afterlife or something like that.
Yeah. So I was very surprised myself. So I spoke about it before. Maybe you even heard about it. And by the way, Zach, thank you so much for your patience, brother. You feel free to also unmute, and if you feel like you have something to contribute, thank you for being so respectful and everything. But feel free to chime in and introduce yourself. Welcome.
I'm enjoying the conversation. Whenever you're ready to talk.
Sure. So this is the last thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to let you talk because I do have to jump off today a little early, but I will definitely let you say everything you wanted to say first. So one final thing I'm going to say, and this was very surprising to me because I don't have the same life trajectory as you. By the way, what should I call you? Like, you don't have to say your real name, but like I feel like it's weird that I'm not naming you.
Talking to Zach or someone else?
The what?
You talking to me? Or
Yeah, talking to you.
Oh, I'm Casey.
Oh, Casey, awesome. So I definitely don't have your life trajectory. I'm very, like, physicalist perspective, atheist, no, like, and not in the sense of like, oh, there's no God and I need to talk about it. Like, I didn't care. I never cared. That wasn't the thing. But it's just like, there's no proof. Like, why would I think about it, right? And by the way, I also have extra sensitivity to it because I now know certain things, and I'm seeing that the people that were convinced the whole time, they're much more they can feel something, and it's almost like, well, so you feel it, but not everybody feels it, right? So it's almost like, now I understand where the miscommunication happens because some people feel it and other people don't, and I'm one of these people that don't or didn't, and because of that, all of this was like, this whole world of oh, there's something beyond, and just completely new to me. And so because of that, I know that this whole side of archetypical world doesn't exist in my brain. It just doesn't. Okay,
Right.
I never considered it. It was never attractive to me. I wasn't like a closeted religious person. I was like, no, and I didn't care. And then all of a sudden, and it wasn't on the molecule. It was on 4-ACO. I don't know if you ever tried it, but it's basically synthetic mushrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's pristine, and I love it. And it's like I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, first of all, the console also opens up and the whole thing, and all of a sudden there's this new kind of, almost like a presentation, like like literally they're like, all right, like came to me with diagrams, like here's how things work, let me show you, and literally like in a normal pace of like a human, not like a, the spirit molecule pace of like like none of that nonsense, just like very like somebody came into class and showing me a presentation on the TV, and then they're showing me like this whole diagram of the full structure. Now, to be super clear, always at this point, I want to make super clear, I'm not claiming that I think that I was the ultimate truth was revealed to me. I'm saying that that's what I was shown, and I don't know if it's for me to understand something, or I have no idea. But the spirit of it was, this is how it is. We're not. This is not a metaphor. This is how things are. Okay. And then what was super interesting is that, first of all, they showed me that, yes, there's this entire hierarchy that goes all the way up of all the gods that you imagine. including the biblical God, but he's not at the top. And all the way at the top, there's a woman.
Of course.
I don't, bro. What do you mean? Of course, like for me, like why would if the source exists, not in the sense of like why would it be a woman? Why would it be a gender? Is my point. Like if the source exists, in like the most rational thing is like, well, it's some kind of an orb of light. I don't know. Like why would it be a gender? No, it's like a straight up woman. I was like, holy, what?
Yeah.
And then it's like goes all the way down, and there's arrows that they showed like arrows all the way down. The higher you go, they can see through all of it, all the way to you. Like they can see everything, right? And then there's this, which I didn't understand at all. It was shown to me for like a few seconds, and it was very confusing. But they just moved on, like they don't stop. There was this arrangement of 3 worlds that are hovering around each other. One of them is our multiverse. So this is how big the picture is. Our entire multiverse, with all the possibilities, is one of these 3, and these 3 are just a tiny part of this larger world where all of these things exist. And I'm sitting there, and it's shown to me in this kind of like very mundane, like this goes here, this goes there, right? This is a triangle, and I'm like, okay. And then they showed me that I'm sitting alone in a basement with a VR set, and behind me there's the Mandelbrot set. So I guess what I understood from that is that the simulations are unfolding through the fractals of the Mandelbrot set because it allows for this infinite unfoldment. And there's no one else in my reality. I'm alone, like there's just me, and you guys are just projections. Yep. But again, this is I think I've added that to the story. I'm not sure that it was shown to me directly. I think this is a slight confabulation, but I think it's a helpful one. What I gathered there is that you guys are real, but you're not real in my world. So like you are just projections, and it is a safety mechanism that if I start hurting people, I'm not hurting anyone. The system registers what I'm doing, but I'm not hurting anyone. So, and essentially what happens is that then the mainframe picks up all these signals, and it registers, okay, this person did this and this and this and this situation. So what happens is that when the real you in your world you will be interacting with the projection of me in your world, and then the mainframe will inform your world how I would behave in that situation. So the interaction is real, but not with a real, tangible, living, conscious being. So essentially, it's all like separate. Which, to be quite honest, sounds like the most wasteful computational model possible. Like, why would you do that? But I guess as safety precaution. Yeah. And then on top of that, in the end, then they showed me kind of like this something, and this part where I guess I guess you can say choose, but I'm not really sure it's my choice. This is where the part of me that is willingly talking about things starts feeling not as comfortable, and I take that as a sign that maybe this part needs to not be fully expressed, or I just need to kind of live with it. Like that's kind of, but I can tell you a thing around it, which is that basically I saw this stage in the middle, and the stage had something happening on it. And right. That's something everything in existence is looking at, like everything. And that it's almost like a coliseum of all of existence. Yep. And then something happens. And then it's unfolding. And that unfolding is now, I found it outside of the window. And all of a sudden, like the whole thing just like went like this, and then the whole thing went to the side, and I couldn't see what it was anymore. Right. And I saw this kind of like what looked like How to Train Your Dragon, the dragon, like he was kind of like sitting like right at the window, kind of watching like this, and a leopard, and they're both and an owl, a leopard, an owl, and this dragon, and they're all sitting and just kind of like watching it, like very noble, like they're just watching it, and you can see the reflection of what's going on in their eyes. But in order to see what's happening, you have to get up. You have to make a choice. You have to get up and go look. Okay? Yeah. And then I turned, and on the other side was my now fiancée, and she was sitting right next to me. and on the screen on the computer in front of me, it was also very kind of like dramatic because what's his name, Esta Stone was playing, with the guitar, and it's like very, and
Yes.
and all of a sudden I see like a bunch of messages on the computer, just like a bunch, like like social media, like people trying to tell you like all these things, like trying to influence your decisions,
Right.
and then I'm sitting there and I'm in between this computer that is going haywire with messages, and whatever's happening outside, and then there's my loved one,
Yeah.
and it now, what do you do? Right?
Exactly.
And I was like, oh. And they're like, okay, now that's the rest of your life. So there's a lot of ways in which you can take all of this, right?
I understand completely what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah,
Fuck yeah, brother.
yeah. So and so what I chose to do, because and this is what you're seeing now essentially, is that I can't not be who I am.
That's right.
And what you see here is what I am. So I can't, like, my interest in understanding the deepest picture was with me since I was a fetus, I think, and I can remember that. And it's like, it's just what my imprint is. I can't pretend to be anything else. But what I can do, I can potentially try my best to somehow fold the goal of the greater good of all
That's right.
through what I am. And that's
Exactly.
essentially what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm doing. And it's a constant journey, and it's constantly, you have to correct course, and there's certain things that you have to align, and all of that stuff.
Yep.
But you grow through the process of actually being what you really are and not pretending you're anything else. And sometimes it's scary to be what you are, because it's like, well, like everything else, you make a step, that step might bring to certain outcomes, and you can't go around that. That's just how it is, and that's the case for all of us. And yeah, but that's really the biggest picture I've ever seen or ever been shown. It is not to say that this must be the case, that that's how things are, but I feel like there's a lot of truth to some of these components at least. So, and that's the reason I even started telling you the story. And thank you so much for allowing me the space and listening so attentively. At one of the points when I was shown the full structure of the hierarchy, I don't remember what part of the vision that was, but somewhere along the lines, after I saw myself alone with the Mendelbrot set, I saw Jesus Christ, not anybody else. There was no confusing it. It was Jesus, and he was ascending up all the way. He was just going up. It's like, and I was like, what? Like, it's like, what? It's like, first of all, woman, now Jesus, like, what? This is insane. So I can't. So,
Can I ask? Can I?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I don't have the same level of experience with psychedelics, with the God molecule. None with that specifically. I like LSD. I smoke a lot of weed. But 10 years ago, I started a very serious journey with simulation theory and the philosophy around it. I was on a trip to Israel. It was a tech leadership trip. I was with the guy that invented the like button, and we were at a winery, and a friend of mine gave me Nick Bostrom's white paper. I don't know if you've read it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have. Yeah, and it blew my mind. Obviously, it's an incredible piece of logical theory. And the next day, we were driving to Jerusalem. They park us up on Mount Scopus. You're looking out over the old city, and they have us go take a moment of meditation. I'm sitting there, and it occurred to me that if we were in a simulation, and then we have a simulator, and if we have a simulator and you were to describe them, you would say they created the universe, they live outside of space and time, created maybe us in their image in some way. And it was like, oh yeah, no, I've heard that before, that we know that story. And so I think what I got from that is not that I now know God in some way, but that the interesting question is not really sort of like, are we, aren't we? And I think that this is the question that we get stopped on a lot with aliens, right? Like, they want us stopped on the are they or aren't they real question. Why? Because if you get past that question, all the other questions are the interesting stuff. Like, when you have to start redefining biology and astronomy and geology and archaeology, when you have to start redefining everything, and then our relationship with our political leaders who clearly have a hand in this, et cetera, right? Like, and same with simulation theory. And I think what's interesting is not are we, aren't we in a simulation, but what do we learn? What do we know once we start to accept that we are? In Matrix, I think one of the most interesting things about the Matrix is that, think about Neo's story, right? He's searching for this his entire life. He feels that it exists. Someone shows up at his door. They ring his doorbell. He sees the white rabbit. He goes down the hole. He follows the whole thing. He meets Trinity. She takes him back. She meets the crew. He does the whole office thing. He gets right all the way up. He gets like craned out of a ball of goo after seeing the entire thing. He wakes up with a port in his back of his head. And all of this, he gets to the Kung Fu thing. He gets taught Kung Fu via implantation. And then they take him up on the roof. And they're like, this is the big test. This is the big test. Do we think he can do this? And even Neo at that moment, after all of that, after all of the knowing, after all of the proof, after all of the objective proof in his eyes, he can't make that jump. Why? Because it's fucking hard. Because uncovering the ability to use the magic of knowing what the reality is, which is what we're all discovering right now, that is powerful. It's wildly powerful. It is the thing that every mystic tradition for thousands of years has been able to tap into in some way, because they have a fractal picture of what they're tapping into. But this awareness that we're getting to it, I think the sort of pinnacle of this spiral is actually pretty fucking awesome. And sort of being on this thought level with you guys and being able to discuss it and seeing other people discuss it is inspiring to me. I've developed, so the thought exercise on simulism is what I call it for the last 10 years. And this is the faith structure that develops naturally and around this new sort of origin story, right? Because what was the last origin story? Adam and Eve. But this is not only an origin story. What's crazy about simulation theory is that it's the first scientifically plausible creationist origin story ever. It's the place you start to rectify God and science together, and it's sort of incredible. It's powerful, and I think that if you looked around, if you turned on the game today and we found ourselves sitting in the game and you said, "What's the game?" I think saving our species from certain destruction would probably be the game. And I think that what would be required to save our species from certain destruction in this game is that we got to have a structure that supersedes, nation states and, genders and racial differences and everything. We have to figure out something that unites us as a human species so that we can do, 165 million years like the dinosaurs, to even have a shot of being legit on this planet, I think, is the truth. And we have no shot of doing that right now if we keep going. And so I think that there's two rules about simulism, the two commandments, which is that if you woke up tomorrow in a game, right, and you knew nothing about anything other than you had just woken up in a game, what would you know for sure? And I think you'd know two things. One, don't die. I don't know what happens when you die. You might get rebooted. Maybe you see a whole bunch of truth and then you forget it when you wake up. Maybe it's game over. Who knows? We don't know. But there's no game out there where dying is the point, and so you should rightly avoid death. And the second is that you should find your purpose, because if you're in a game and you have agency and awareness, and you have a boss to beat, a quest to go on, a puzzle to solve, something that makes you purposeful in this existence, And I think we should all be striving to do those two things. And I think we can bump it up to the whole species and say, again, don't die, and let's find our purpose. Let's do it together. And so that's what I've been able to come up with so far without the molecule. But I intend to be in Ecuador in the spring. And I think the world is finally presenting me the correct opportunity, the way I like to accept them. And we'll see what happens. But it's been really inspiring to hear your guys' versions. I can't wait to sort of be able to add to that conversation. But thanks for the.
Well, you already added quite a bit to it. You have a lot of power in your voice and in your energy. So thank you so much for sharing all of this. I can only say that I first of all I agree with everything you said, and actually the details really matter here, because the proposition is not that we're in a scenario like in the movie The Matrix, but I always say it's literally the Matrix upside down. So the proposition is not that we're stuck in a computational space, but that the computational space is actually the real world. And we are a subset of that realer world, which is what you visit when you do some of these molecules. And it's just that the essence of what we believe computation to be needs to go through a reacclimation to what it really is. It's not this soulless, empty, mechanical thing. It is the ultimate space from which everything emanates. It behaves much more as a computational space than what we imagine the physical space to be. That's from a technical standpoint. Maybe a year ago, my answer to, well, what is the significance? What is the cash value of this? Would be, well, we don't know yet, but if it's true, we want to know it, right? Just like with any other science, that in the beginning it wasn't clear how application might arise, but if it's true about the world, you want to know it. And I still think that, but I also now think that we also want to bring this new element of connection to what it feels like to interact with that thing in real time, which is something that until now we didn't really have, and still don't really have in terms of like, nation states and science don't really think about things like that. But I really like, a really good example of this is, I don't know if you know who Charles Eisenstein is, but he wrote a few books, and one of them is Sacred Economics. And the idea there is that he makes a comparison. So, for example, in standard economics, what you measure, the only thing that the models and economical models can do anything with is things in which currency was exchanged, right? So that's the measure. Like, this is how much money was spent for A, B, C, and then you can kind of, right? In second economics, you actually go to the core of what the real thing should be, which is, what you want to be measuring is value.
Yeah.
And even if currency was not exchanged, if you sing a song for your loved one, if you cook a meal for your children, that's real value. Not because of the ingredients that you used to cook it, but the fact that you did that. There's something there that is very valuable as an interaction, and that interaction should be included in the real economical model, because that's what the true value of experience and existence is, which speaks to that thing that you said with, like, what are the only things you truly know if you just like wake up and you don't know anything else. I do believe that these, I don't want to use loaded language, but I guess these more wholesome elements of what is the correct way to be and the incorrect way to be, they're real things. And some people would push back and say, no, it's all contextual, it's all because of our culture. It's like, I don't think so. There's certain things that are universal. There's certain ways to connect that even if you're not a physical body, there's a connection that feels one way and a connection that feels another way. And it has to do, and it probably has, if you want to go into like the whole technical explanation.
Actually, I don't know if I want to point you to something, because
Sure.
you'll really enjoy it. So there's a TED Talk by a guy named Alex Wisner-Gross.
Say it again. Alex what?
Alex Wisner-Gross, and it's a what is it? hyphen name. And it's a TED talk, and it's on the force of intelligence. So he comes up with like an E equals MC square type equation for the force of intelligence, which he considers to be this sort of quasi gravity acting on the world. And it's really interesting because I think he's an economist, and he sort of misses that if you just say consciousness instead of intelligence, he's sort of created this incredible equation for consciousness, and that it generally comes down to maximize your future options. And it basically means that it's like the amount of knowledge that you have in order to make decisions compounded by the amount of energy that you can have to put behind those decisions equals sort of your force of intelligence. But also think about this. What if the entire thing is order versus chaos, right? So if I ask you to maximize your future, if I ask my dad to maximize his future options, he'll be like, I'm going to do something innovative, I'll do something crazy, I'll like come out there and I'll combine a new thing, and like, I'll go the complete that's the best way to maximize my future options. You ask my mom how to maximize your future options, she'll be like, do the safe thing, do the thing that's been done a million times, right? Like, but it's the same answer to the same question. And it depends on like a soul thing, which is like this soul balance of order versus chaos. And I think it's interesting that I'm sort of a panpsychist on this stuff. I feel like if we're going to apply this information or energy quotient to this reality that's being created in the simulation, my feeling is that it goes down to the smallest pixels of what we can see. And so imagine that all quarks, every single quark, is literally conscious, thinking about how to maximize his future options. And what's interesting about that is that you can go from no life to life, because like that's how you maximize your future options. You go to like a planet is just a planet, but it's like, well, I really wish I had like sulfur vents that like did something interesting. And then there's like sulfur vents, and then like all the way to the giraffe trying to evolve its way into a bigger neck. It's like the only way that works is if at the smallest pixels, it's all operating like individual little machines that have one very, very simple directive.
But that directive is actually not that simple. So optimizing future options, you have a lot going on there. So you have to postulate future, you have to postulate options, and if you're just a unitary thing, I don't know how you get to understand what options are. Thank you so much, Mr. Wu.
It's in his equation.
So no. First of all, to be clear, I'll obviously definitely look into it. I'm just because I spent also many years thinking about this very deeply. I guess I was more of a panpsychist for most of my like the years in which I started really thinking about this. I kind of shifted from physicalism to more panpsychism. But the thing that I came with the closest to what you're describing, that ultimate quality, from which the building blocks for all the other qualities, the only thing that makes sense to me the only thing it can be, is something I call inness. And I purposefully only use the word, like I don't like to come up with lingo because I think the English language is beautiful and it's robust enough.
What's the word again? Say it again.
I called it inness, INNES. So
inness.
Yeah, it's the quality of this, and I called it that so it doesn't have any other like concepts tethered to it, because I think that's sufficient to give you everything that you see. If you have this inness in every point in space, the second you have clumps of innesses, what they would automatically create is some kind of a dynamic, because they're all like pointing inwards, and at a certain point they would have to make certain they would have to make certain adjustments to the fact that there are other innesses in that environment, and then they would have to combine into some kind of a function of some sort that has a combined inness, and then it also gains more degrees of freedom. So it exists according to my model, it exists in an infinite informational space, and infinite dimensional informational space, and it fractures itself into all of these like different clumps of innesses. And what the human brain looks like, for example, that's an example of what an arrangement of a very particular kind of all these, like, I don't know what you want to call them, molecules of consciousness, that they basically all combine together, and the physical brain is actually what it looks like when it arranges itself around this kind of information. And when I started thinking like that, I then realized that actually I'm much more of an idealist than a panpsychist, because and Bernardo Castro convinced me of that, simply because it requires a lot less parts. So the only real difference between panpsychism and an idealism is that how many parts you're asking there to be fundamentally. And in panpsychism, either you believe it's a quantum field of some sort, or some substrate that exists within an already existing world. Well, you kind of you keep the one of the hard problems of the beginning of the universe intact, but in idealism you eliminate that problem, because you say, well, the one miracle I'm asking is that consciousness is just everything. It's just what it is. It's mind, right? And then everything else arises from it. The superiority of this frame for me is the fact that you don't need to postulate any other parts, because you can describe logically, and according to Donald Hoffman now, he claims that they can even do it mathematically.
So, I mean, maybe I'm just wrong in how I'm describing myself, because I fully believe that that consciousness is the substrate.
Okay. So that would be more of an idea, not a substrate. So, and maybe you are saying the same thing, but I do want to nail this down. So in panpsychism, there's a world, and then there's something in the world that is the building blocks of what we call consciousness. It is not physical, but in idealism, consciousness is the world. Like,
okay, well,
yeah.
Okay, so here's maybe where I'm getting caused up, because first off, consciousness is a word, right?
Yeah.
Right, so it's
mental. So the world is mental at first. That would be a more accurate way of saying it.
Because I think the reason that it struck me on his talk when he said intelligence versus, and I thought consciousness, is because how do we generally ascribe consciousness to beings on Earth, right? We do it based on intelligence. Basically, like, the more intelligent they are.
No, I definitely don't follow that. I can tell you from meditative states that you can definitely have a state in which you're completely conscious, but you're not connected to any of your senses. There's no container. So I do believe that consciousness. Now, I can't obviously know, because I will always have a body as long as I'm aware. Of course, that's true. But the feeling of it is such that it kind of tells you it's conclusive. Like, it tells you that the consciousness can be without a container and still exist.
Define consciousness outside of a definition that would essentially be used by most people to describe things that are more intelligent, more aware, right? Like, not this idea of consciousness, but like
higher intelligence.
Yeah, and this is what I'm saying, is that, like, when I say panpsychism, I mean that there is intelligence that is fundamental. That it starts with intelligence.
No, we definitely agree on that.
Comes from intelligence. But also, by the way, what I think is the most incredible about sort of sim theory is that it doesn't actually answer any of the big theological questions.
Yeah, but I don't think we're, at least with what I discuss. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off there. I just want you to understand, because I don't know how much you know about what I'm specifically doing, but and at this level of investigation with what I claim to have found, I'm not claiming all of the stuff that we're talking about now. This is more like, it's just for fun, right? I'm not claiming that the laser is somehow attached to the ultimate understanding of things. I'm claiming that it's a concrete thing that you can now do some measurements with, is what I'm saying. But everything you're saying.
Let me just say, if we found out that our world was not real and that we were in a simulation, right? If we found that out definitively and the world found that out and they accepted it, it would be the equivalent of a spiritual awakening. It is a spiritual awakening.
I guess, and again, I feel a little terrible that I'm even creating any kind of like back and forth about this, because I think we agree, but I do think that, well, first of all, the word simulation doesn't mean fake, so it just means computationally rendered. So it's not like you're fake; it's real, because if you stub your toe, it's real.
To us, right?
Well, yeah, but that's all you need to do to establish that it's real. To say that there's a more fundamental thing is not the same as saying that's real and you're not, because then you can say, well, the laws of physics are real and you're not. because it's the same thing, right?
And I think, by the way, if you think about it, I mean, the way I always describe sort of how I think of a simulation anyway is not that it's created, for a minute, but that there's, you know, infinite simulations that got started by saying physics input into computer, enter, Big Bang, continuum, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
everything that has come that we know that we can scientifically see makes sense because like that's how a simulation would be done. It would just be a super sped up version of everything over and over and over and over and over again.
Which raises the question: why would a civilization be running all of these? And the rational thing to me is that they're doing it because they also don't know why everything exists, and that's why they're doing it.
Right. Well, also because we make them, right? Like we're the reason that we know this so for sure is because we're on the verge. If you look at AR, you look at quantum computing, you look at all brain computer interfaces, everything that we have is converging on a point not so far in the future where we will create the first simulation, which makes the Bostrom theory sort of just like it just go. You're like his whole thing is like if we would ever create one, it's like we're about to create one.
Yeah.
So like I think it's in our nature.
No, I think Bostrom's case is hermetically sealed. I think it's just the nature of. I think it's just there's no really any logical way to really go against it. Like every time people try to argue against it, the only thing that happens is that they basically recapitulate everything he said, and then they go, "But we can't possibly be living in a simulation." That's the whole argument. It's just like you can't really logically rebuttal what he's saying because it's hermetically sealed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Once you experience the molecule, you'll understand how you can interface with the simulation, and then you're going to want to wield your power in the simulation. So,
I wield it. No. I think that. Can I tell you what I think? Can I tell you what the secret I actually think is?
What I mean
is molecule.
What I'm saying is, you will enter the digital quantum bubble, and you will be able to, very technical, work with the simulator.
I appreciate that. I think that I'm really looking forward to some guidance because I think it is all connected. But I will say that I think the sober secret is that believing that we are in fact in one is sort of fundamental to the whole thing. Like the more you actually believe, and that means living it every day and then talking to the universe as if it's listening. It's all the stuff that we know about manifestation, but it's intentional with this new, more sort of specific focus of reality. It's talking to reality like you know it and expecting to be talked to back. And I think that you can wield a pretty heavy amount of influence, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And the molecule is just
it's a picture. It's a picture into
the molecule gives you a turbo charge to do everything you're saying. It's basically what it is. If you're conscious,
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. One thing that I've noticed, and again, I don't know you personally, but I do notice this in people very often. If there's one thing that my brain somehow does very naturally, is, and I can't take credit for it. I don't know why that is. I just kind of allow the thing to truly be. And if you give something enough of an opportunity to just unfold exactly what it is, it will tell you what it is. Like really will tell you what it is. What I've noticed that happens, and this is just from my conversation with many, many, many people at this point, people are very quick to slap whatever it is they think it is on top of it. Like very quick. And I think that what it requires, but the thing is, it's not nothing. This is another mistake that people make. They somehow think, oh, well, it can be anything, right? Because that's my interpretation, that's your interpretation. No. The thing is also something. So that part is being completely left out from the conversation, which is that there's a something there. And that something, unless you really allow it to fully come into frame, in its full glory, you won't be able to actually interact with what it really is. I'm not talking about you personally. I'm just saying in general. And I think that what happened, if I have to look at the trajectory of what happened with these like super realistic experiences that started happening to me, there was an allowance of like really stepping back and just let it play. Like really look at it. Stop like trying to, and it manifested as something. And I have to say that when I talk to like when we're talking right now, uh, I sometimes I do meet individuals that kind of go like, yeah, like it has to be that because it's telling you it's what it is. But then people keep insisting it's something else. Like for example, I had this conversation today like 3 different times, so maybe it's like a I don't know some kind of a sign or something like that. But
Yeah.
which is that it does like at least in the NN space. So it's important to differentiate between these things. Like if you do II, it's one thing, even though it's the same molecule, but it feels like something else. But NN, it doesn't feel spiritual. Also, it doesn't feel like your higher self or anything like that.
Not at all.
Not at all. Like it
Yeah.
really feels like an alien civilization is right in front of you, and
Yeah.
somehow, and so I guess the I'm saying this to the effect of, it seems to me that, and maybe it's a choice that humanity wants to make, just like Bostrom says that maybe we can make a choice of not making these simulations. I don't know, but it's a choice that we have to make. Do we want to know what it really is, or do we want to live with our story of what it is?
Exactly.
Real question. Real question.
So and 100%, and I will tell you that my focus is 100% on the story, because what I'm trying to solve for is that value that you were talking about earlier on Earth. That I think that like what we know for sure, 100%, is that we're here. We're on a planet that we've slowly degraded. We're on a collision course with our own sort of destruction. And we are all sort of standing like a deer in the headlights, wondering how we're going to move this gigantic Titanic of a ship that we're sailing sort of like toward an iceberg. And I think that, weirdly enough, this is it. This is how we do it.
So the flip side of that, if you don't mind, I want to potentially push back on that. Yeah, because the flip side of that is that we tried all the stories until now, and that's where we are. So I think that maybe actually growing up and admitting that, also maybe allowing ourselves to fully come to terms with what else is going on for real, might actually be the thing that will unlock that thing that we just can't, because the stories are the ones that got us here. Everybody has their story, and
100%.
everybody believes one thing, and then you can't really move them. The reason that the conflict exists is because, not because of resources, not because of any of that stuff. It's because people disagree on what story to guide us through the meaning tapestry of reality. But and this is why I think it's so important to protect the Enlightenment principles. And when I'm saying Enlightenment, I mean scientific enlightenment, because, and I know that now it's somehow a dirty word, but it is the only spark that humanity has ever come up with that puts aside what we prefer and sets in front of us what the real thing is. And notice that what it allows us to do is to actually interact with reality on a whole new level that we couldn't before, very tangibly. And it does not mean that it doesn't have its shortcomings. Of course, you can talk about the fact that you want to create things that are more ensouled and more inspired by what we call nature is doing. But all of these things,
But I'm not actually. I know that what it sort of sounds like is that I want to stay with the woo-woo aspect of it and ignore the materialist like discovery that this could be. And that's not what I'm saying. Is that I think that there's a function for belief. There's a pragmatic function for belief in that in fact there's no other force that has ever interacted with humanity that has gotten them to change their habits and priorities and passions en masse in any sort of time frame ever, better than religion, and even more specifically creationist religion. That like it has the record of being able to do that, and I'm saying that's what I think we require at this juncture. And at this juncture, we're also being delivered a new paradigm, like a freshly wrapped new paradigm. And so again, when I sort of go from my new principles, or from what I think are the basic principles of we wake up in this new reality. You don't have to say it's a video game or a computer game or a simulation. Just say, waking up with a completely new reality, having to discover a new set of rules for a new set of realities. And the new rules are like, don't die. And then once we don't die, then we find our purpose. And that might be about
Brian Johnson for president. But but first of all, thank you for the clarification, because I did think that you were kind of going in the direction of staying with the woo. So thank you for clarifying that. But I'm not quite understanding, and if you can maybe unpack that a little bit more. What is it that you're talking about then? You said that that thing is better than religion. It's some kind of a story as well. But what is this frame that you're offering? What you just said at the end? What you just said
is we have a magic that seems like magic to us, but is like the Force in freaking Star Wars, and it exists. It's not a fake thing, it's a real thing. Mm-hmm. It's not only not a fake thing or it's a real thing, it's a scientific thing. We don't know the science yet, but it's a real scientific thing.
I agree.
Like, there are scientific experiments where, like, the plant moves the light in its direction. You know, it's like we are aware that double slit experiment, we're aware that we can act upon the universe physically, right?
But that's looking at things for what they really are, because if you can observe that these things happen, that's part of the truth of the world that we live in, right?
We don't understand what the mechanics behind that is, and that's what I'm saying. That's what you're seeing, is the mechanics behind that magic. And I'm saying we've got to get people in touch with the magic and then use it to save the world, save the species.
I see what you're saying. So you're saying that there's some kind of an element in nature that when you connect to it, it is equivalent to straight up magic, and that's a real thing. And if we're going to keep looking at just the mechanical part of it, we'll never be able to connect to it. Is that close to what you're saying?
More that it doesn't, just in the same way that we used antibiotics for many years without knowing how they work. Mm-hmm. Like, we can get the material benefit of the magic without having to understand the magic.
But eventually you want to, because you don't want to run into a wall eventually, right?
Which is why we're on the same team.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm very enjoying this. Just to be clear, this is incredible. This is extremely both entertaining and also it gives a sense of a very deep meaning. So I appreciate everything you're saying. I'm just making sure that I understand you properly. Okay. Yeah, no, I can definitely get behind that. I think it's just that there's something in me that it's just I always see I really see us becoming young adults now as a species, and part of that is, I always say, it's kind of like you start to understand why you should clean your room versus somebody's telling you that you got to clean your room. So you start to understand why these things are functional, right? But in addition to that, and this is where I'm kind of taking the metaphor to a place where a lot of people are not comfortable with, and that's okay. But we also have to pick a career in the universe. And yes, this is our home, but, if you get to 33, your mom is kind of started to look at you funny. It was like, when are you leaving the house? Like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? Like, you're overstaying. It's like, it's okay. Like, yes, this is home, and the universe is the world. The universe is our playground. It's our yard. So it's not like we're gonna, just neglect home. Home is always gonna be here, and we're gonna tend to it, and we're gonna make it more beautiful, and all of that. But we are an exploring species, and I do think that that's our destiny. We are to embark into the stars, and we are to take life with us. That's what we are. That's what things like us are. That's why we have these abilities. That's why we can outlive our star. Not because we're egomaniacal, like megalomaniacal, like just like, oh, we just gotta control, which there's definitely an element of that in us, but there's also the beautiful part in us, and I think that it's not a coincidence that we have these abilities. I think we are the custodians and the protectors of this space, and we just have to realize that and become that versus the thing that is raping the planet and doing all the crazy nonsense that we're engaged with at the moment,
100%.
Yeah.
No, and partly that's going to be exploring new sort of roots in philosophy and theology, and part of it's going to be exploring this scientifically and materially, and really getting to the bottom of it. Because I think even if we intend to use the antibiotics, while we don't know how they work, we should figure out how they work, and it'll help us make do it better. And I think if we want to be an intergalactic species, as I think is what you're saying, then what's sort of at the core of that, it seems, is is the ability to actually harness the sort of fundamentalness of consciousness, right? Like everything I'm reading about aliens these days is that like they travel via consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
They have figured out how to use the science of consciousness.
Or they're made out of it. Yeah.
Well,
So
we're all
they're
made
more
out of it. That's the
nakedly
whole-
made out
is
of
that-
it, basically.
Is that
Yeah.
everything is made out of it, right? Like
Yeah.
everything is within the same thing. By the way, look at so Plato, who's obviously like the first simulation theory guy.
The cave, right?
He had a student named Platonius.
Mm-hmm.
Platonius is a thing called Neoplatonism. Neoplatonism has the demiurge, which I think is a very interesting concept that we never discuss in theology in the West at all, ever, which is this idea that like whatever created us might not be the creator of everything. Like we're so arrogant about it. Every time we talk about God, like if he created us, he must have created everything and everything and everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, actually, Platonius says that the one is that, sort of turtles all the way down. Like that's the one, the substrate, the unknowable, the indescribable, the special sauce. But that there might be something that created us.
Definitely. There's the story of Sophia. There's a lot of these kind of like things that put a lot of the biblical story under question, right? Is it the other guy? And the snake is actually an angel that was sent to try and So this is why I guess the Gnostics believed this. So there's a lot of these.
Gnostics are great.
Yeah, and I love these thought games because they make you pause. This is something that Alan Watts said quite a few times, which is like, well, you have to, if you truly want to live the faith life, you have to be comfortable with the idea that maybe, not for sure, but maybe the ultimate thing is the opposite of what you think it is. And if you can be comfortable with that, now you're ready to proceed with life as it occurs here, which is where the only thing that you will ever really engage with some substance, because this is it. If you can't be happy here, you can't be happy in 5 dimensions. You can't be happy in 8 dimensions. It doesn't matter. It's like this. And I think this is where...
And that's the recursive game. What we do know, by the way, what we do know scientifically, right, is that, and going back to sort of anyway, the idea that that every day we slough off cells, right, that are part of us. And if we lose our arm, we're still us, right? Like, how do we maintain usness throughout our entire world, throughout our entire life, when our whole entire body is different, when the physical reality of our body is actually entirely different from birth to death? How do we maintain that selfness? And I think you sort of have to get back to that central question of what is consciousness? Is consciousness something that is special that like only us have? Or is consciousness everything, and thus all we have is a different form of emergent consciousness? Like, we don't have a special consciousness. We have just a different form of emergent consciousness because it's fundamental. So it's making up everything, right?
Yeah, I would say that we do specialize in something very unique, and that is true to say, and there's nothing wrong with that. At least in this corner of the universe.
Well, certainly we're the only ones on this planet so far having this conversation.
Yeah. We reached some kind of a more universal frame, I would say, and that's the difference. What did you want to say something?
The first step is, like Dan was saying earlier, you have to go through the process of becoming human. Again, that, like you explained earlier, there's that part in your life where you just integrated everything, and you girlfriend, and you have that choice, and that was like, okay, that's what becoming it sounds weird, but becoming human means, whole. And you have to become whole, and that's what we need to teach people, is how to become whole. And the molecule is a way to train people how to become whole. like gosh, I'm gonna pass on his name, but you talked to him recently. He's in Japan. The
Oh, you're talking about Gallimore.
Yeah, Gallimore, exactly. So if you can synchronize your body with that world building machine, let the world building machine take over, it will alter this reality. Stimulation or period. That's how it works. The proof of it is when you eat that molecule, for example, you're overweight and you never want to exercise all your life, the health is an issue. Use the molecule, synchronize the body to that world building machine, boom. That in that instant you come out of it, now all you want to do is exercise. That's how well it works. It's infinite with this molecule. It is. It's like you're saying, it could be people want to call it magic or whatever. It's just a science and it works. Right?
Agreed. I am pumped to try it.
Where do you live?
I just wanted to say hi before I left, but I couldn't.
How you doing, Zach? Wow, so good to see a face, man.
Yeah, I feel like it's important to be able to make the intro, but it was really a pleasure to have this conversation.
It's very mutual.
Yeah.
I'm in Southern California, always free. Hit me up, Laguna Beach, anytime you want.
I'm in New York.
Cool, we'll fly.
I'll hit you up because I go to New York. Well, in the last couple of years, not as much, but like I love going to New York, so I have a lot of friends there. So,
Where are you?
L.A.
Oh, my siblings live in LA. I'll be in LA for my birthday in December.
Well, please hit me up. So yeah, I don't know how. Well, first of all, I can see the thing here, but I don't think I can follow you from here. Can I? Hold on.
I think I followed you here.
Oh, there you go. Follow back. Perfect. So that's done. And then yeah, I'll just DM you and we can also there you go. And aside from that, I mean usually I say email, but we can just do it quickly. And then yeah, you can definitely hit me up.
Yeah, just DM me and we'll connect and let's do a panel together on something. This would be fun.
Let's do it. This will be a lot of fun. Absolutely. You guys both are such a pleasure. And I'm sorry that I ignored a lot of questions, but hopefully this was entertaining for people as well.
How the fuck do I turn the video on?
I don't know. Oh, if you press on your own face, it should be like a camera on thing. Are you on your phone?
Yep.
So
It should be just a little camera button right next to the microphone.
Yeah, it says live access needed to go live on video.
oh, it probably like block. Are you not on an iPhone?
I'm on an iPhone. Yeah.
Oh, weird. Oh, maybe it's like
Yeah, follower thing.
Okay. Well, in any case, I'm sure I'll see you soon enough. I'm working on because we're filming a lot. It's kind of hard for me to find the thing, but I am working on doing some meetups with some people that are around. So I'm definitely gonna also send you an invite to that. But also we can go grab coffee. So.
I love it. Let's go. I think that's it's time to put together the like group of people in the world who are really thinking about this stuff seriously. Because like it's about the time to start being very public about it.
Oh yeah. So I'm very very happy that that you came on. I really appreciate you, man. It was very thrilling and enlightening and very pleasant conversation. So thank you so much for that. And yeah, can't wait to meet up.
Yeah. And everyone, thanks for listening. 96, that's fucking cool. Let's do this again.
Absolutely. No, it's gonna keep growing. I mean, the thing now is on the uprise, so I'm pretty sure it's gonna be bigger, and hopefully we can bring something of value, which will be, yeah. So I'm gonna with this beautiful tone, we'll adjourn for today. Just a quick promotional thing, which is TikTok. My TikTok handle is Danny Goller, same as Instagram. X is Goller Danny. Twitch is LaserX83, and YouTube is Dango Thoughts, DANGO Thoughts. I usually talk a little bit towards the end about the fact that I started a membership plan on YouTube, but somehow today it feels dirty to even mention that, so I won't, aside from just mentioning that it exists. And we meet here every single day, and sometimes we have incredible discussions like that, and sometimes I just ramble, and sometimes we talk about specifics of the simulation theory and everything else that is uh, associated with it. So,
Yeah.
thank you so much, brother. Truly, this was such a pleasure, and I can't wait to meet and chat a little bit more because
Hey, Dan.
it sounds
Can
like
you,
you,
can you do
you
us all a favor?
yeah, go ahead.
Just share a little tidbit about what happened on the set today or what's going on with the film. Anything?
Oh, we don't have a set every day. I also work because
Just
we work.
any detail of what you're doing.
Well, thank you. This is people ask us how long before the film is going to be ready. It's a budget thing. So both me and Aaron are also in the movie industry. I'm an editor and a director, and so is Aaron. And this is why we just do it when we have time. Actually, this weekend we're both going to do a really fun interview. I don't want to say what it is because it's going to be a great surprise. But we're going to do a fun interview with somebody who's a brilliant human being, and that's going to be for the film. And we do this when we have time, and luckily we also have a lot of friends in the industry who are doing us a lot of favors, and we can use a lot of very expensive equipment for relatively very cheap. But still, making a movie costs money. So the second we find the full budget for the film, I think we can just go full force every day, and then we can probably finish it within 4 or 6 months. We're really putting a lot of effort into making something that isn't, because originally Aaron reached out to me. He wanted to do something about my story, and that's how it started. And yes, it is fun to tell the story because it has a lot of fun, twists and turns. But I do think that I want this movie, and Aaron agrees, we want this movie to be something that when people come out of it, first of all, they feel that it's about them as well, and truly, not in a pandering kind of way, but this is about us as humanity, what's going on, and why are these big things happening. It's a challenge because to make a movie like that, it's very easy to slide into cheesy land. It's like, oh, yeah, let's heal. It's like, it's done. It was done so many times that it just kind of lost its oomph and thrust. And so we try to reinvent that in a way that is truly inspiring, while still staying loyal to the facts and not to just have like a movie about talking heads. And so this is something that we take as a beautiful challenge. The second we get the budget, we're going to run with it. It's going to be done quickly. If not, which I honestly think we will very soon, but if not, then we will just take a little longer, maybe a few more months, but it will be ready. And we are very committed to create a truly incredibly crafted thing. We have some world class musicians that, like, because they believe also in the project, they kind of lined up to also help, and we're very excited about the type of product we're going to bring. The trailer, just so you guys know, the trailer is something that, this is just to attest to how brilliant Aaron is. The trailer is something he did in less than a week. So this trailer that you saw that went viral, he just came in, we shot a couple of things, this was a while ago. He whipped this thing out in like a week. And so this is just a super rudimentary thing. This is not it. I would even say that the movie itself is going to be, orders of magnitude more impactful in the way that it would feel and approach. So, yeah, I'm very excited to share this with people, and it does feel even better the fact that it kind of feels like a journey that we're on together, because we also kind of like talking about it while it's happening. So on the one hand, it's it's kind of hard because it's like you're hyping it up, so you got to live up to the hype. But I do believe that if we follow the authentic line of what the movie is trying to become, it will be all of that and more. So thank you so much for asking, and yeah, we're excited to share this with the world when it's ready.
You fucking rock. I love you. Good night.
Love you too, brother. And yeah, please, I'm gonna DM you, but yeah, if you because I have, so here's the thing, I have like a million things in the thing. If you see that for some reason I can't, because it did happen to me that people went on live and somehow I can't find them even though I followed them. If you can DM me, but also if that fails, please just email me and then we'll exchange numbers. It's lasersimulationx@gmail.com.
I got you.
Okay.
No, I got you.
All right, guys, peace and love, everybody. See you tomorrow, and yeah, love you all. Ciao.
Peace.
See you, everybody. And we'll take all these questions tomorrow. I know there was a lot here today, but I do have to get some rest today. Love you all.